Hello students, let's continue with the chapter. Already in the last lecture we have started with the introduction of biotechnology chapter. We have also discussed with recombinant DNA technology and different techniques of genetic engineering including polymerase chain reaction. In today's lecture we are going to study about different tools which are used for recombinant DNA technology. Let's begin with the chapter. Tools of recombinant DNA technology. There are different tools like enzymes, restriction enzymes like restriction endonucleases, DNA ligase enzyme, DNA polymerase enzyme, the cloning vector, and the host organisms. Vectors are very important because they are the DNA molecules used to transfer genetic material into another cell. So vectors are important. Vectors, for example, plasmid, bacteriophage, DNA or artificial DNA or cosmid, which are low molecular weight DNA molecules. They are capable of multiplying independent of the genomic DNA. They can be employed to make copies of desired DNA fragments. So, one by one, we are going to discuss about the tools of recombinant DNA technology. Restriction enzyme, the first tool for recombinant DNA technology. So, restriction enzymes are biological scissors because they cut the genetic sequence at specific locations. Restriction enzymes belong to a class of enzymes called nucleases. These are two types of nucleases, exonucleases and endonucleases. Exonucleases cut the DNA at the ends. Endonucleases make cuts at specific points in the DNA. So, when these points cut the DNA fragment, it is known as a restriction fragment. And with the help of restriction endonucleases, we cut them at specific sites. The first restriction endonuclease isolated is HIND3. HIND2, it was isolated from the bacterium Haemophilus influenza. Today we know more than 900 restriction enzymes isolated from 230 strains of bacteria. Recognition sequence. Yes, recognition sequence is the restriction site where the DNA is cut by a restriction endonuclease. So, restriction enzymes always cut DNA molecules at a particular point by recognizing a specific sequence of base pair. This specific base sequence is called recognition sequence. Example, ECO-R1. ECO means Escherichia coli. R is the strain type, 1 is the type. Recognizes only the following sequence. So, ECO-R1 cuts the sequence only at these particular sequences. Restriction enzymes, how do you denote them? How do you write a restriction enzyme? Always remember, restriction enzymes are written the first letter of the genus. Here you can see ECO-R1. E means Escherichia. Escherichia is the name of the genus. So the first letter of the genus is E. Co is the second and third letter of the name of the species, coli. So coli, CO. So E, co. R is the strain. 1 because it is the first restriction enzyme found in the R strain of E. coli. In this way, they are denoted. Palindromic sequence. Now the recognition sequence, most recognition sequence have restriction sites which are palindromes. In palindrome, base sequence of second half in DNA strand represent the mirror image of the base sequence of the first half. So palindromes are group of letters that form the same word when read both backward and forward. For example, Malayalam. A palindromic sequence when both same on the two strands of DNA when orientation is kept the same. GAA TTC from 5' to 3' and again from 5' to 3', GAATTC, but it is written from 3' to 5'. So from right to left and left to right they read the same. So they are palindromic sequence. Cutting and pasting. Restriction enzymes. As molecular scissor, there are 3 types of restriction enzymes. Type 1, type 2 and type 3. They are very well known. They have slightly different modes of action. Type 2 restriction enzymes are used in rDNA technology because they can be used in vitro to identify and cleave within specific DNA sequences, usually having 4 to 8 nucleotides. So, out of these 3 types, type 2 used for molecular biology work like endonucleases. They recognize specific sequence of base pair, usually 4, 6 or 8 bases that are palindromic. They can leave sticky end and blunt ends. Now, what is a sticky end and blunt end? So, let's study sticky ends. Now, sticky ends means, for example, this is the gene sequence and you can see the arrow marks there. And these are the arrow marks because for the recognition sequences, the enzymes recognize the sequence at these particular locations and as per they cut as a biological scissor at particular this sequence and they got separated. So we call it at sticky ends. Now what about blunt end? Blunt end, as per here you can see at same opposite locations they bluntly cut without any disturbance. So exactly at the same location on both the strands and hence both the sequences here you can see they bluntly cut and they get separated and they are cut. It is known as blunt end. Here ALU1 and Haemophilus influenza 2 are cutting at blunt ends. They provide recognition sequence at blunt cuts. So they produce blunt ends. Whereas BAMH1, HIND3 and EcoR1 endonucleases, they produce sticky ends at 2 different locations and hence they produce sticky ends. Here also you can see molecule A and B, molecule A, molecule B, and both are digest each with same restriction endonuclease BAMH1 and BAMH1 always produces sticky ends. So molecule A produce sticky end, molecule B produce sticky end. Now these 2 different molecules when joined together and sealed together with the help of DNA ligase, they form a recombinant DNA. A new variety, a new variant DNA with the help of molecular scissors and ligase enzymes. The same again restriction enzyme action on EcoR1 when 2 different molecules they produce sticky end and sticky end helps to form recombinant DNA, new variations in the recombinant DNA and therefore they have a different action of EcoR1. What do restriction enzymes help us to achieve? They help in generating DNA fragments with precise ends. These precisely generated ends can be then pasted to similar ends in a vector molecule that is self-replicating. The process of pasting is called ligation and requires a DNA ligase. The product after ligation is called recombinant DNA molecule or a clone. Each clone can be replicated to provide ample material for study. Thank you.
Recombinant DNA technology is an important tool in understanding the structure, function, and regulation of genes and their products. It is a complex step-by-step process. The first few steps in DNA recombinant technology involve the isolation of the genetic material, fragmentation of DNA by restriction endonucleases, and amplification of a gene of interest. Once the foreign DNA has been extracted, The next steps are insertion of recombinant DNA into the host cell or organism, obtaining the foreign gene product, and downstream processing. Let's understand the techniques used to carry out the last three steps. Insertion of recombinant DNA into the host cell is one of the most challenging steps, as first the bacterial cell has to be made competent to receive the DNA. If we consider the insertion of a recombinant DNA-bearing gene for ampicillin into the host cell E. coli, the host cells will become ampicillin resistant. Thereafter, when the host cells are spread on agar plates containing ampicillin, only the transformants will grow. On the other hand, non-transformant recipient cells will die. In this case, the ampicillin-resistant gene acts as a selectable marker since it identifies and eliminates non-transformants and permits the growth of transformants. Let us now understand how to obtain a target protein from a foreign gene of recombinant DNA. If any protein encoding gene is expressed in many hosts such as plant cells, bacterial cells, and fungal cells, it is called a recombinant protein. Cultures such as an ampicillin medium may be used to extract the desired protein. Then this protein can be purified by using different separation techniques such as nitrocellulose filter and autoradiography. After the purification process, the cells storing cloned genes of interest may be grown on a small scale in the laboratory. These cells can also be multiplied in a continuous culture system in which the used medium such as ampicillin is drained from one side, while a fresh medium is added from the other, so that the cells can be allowed to remain in their most exponential phase. Therefore, a continuous culturing system produces a large number of cells with recombinant DNA or biomass, which results in higher yields of the desired protein. To produce biomass in even larger quantities, a bioreactor is used. It is a vessel used to carry out a chemical process. A bioreactor uses raw material such as microbial plant, animal or human cells, and converts it into products such as enzymes. About 100 to 1,000 liters of culture can be processed in such units. It facilitates the growth of a large volume of biomass by providing optimum growth conditions in terms of temperature, pH level, substrate, salts, vitamins, and oxygen. The most commonly used bioreactor is the stirred tank type, which consists of a large stainless steel vessel with a capacity of up to 500,000 decimeter cube. Around the steel vessel is a jacket of circulatory water used to control the temperature inside the bioreactor. There is also an agitator inside the bioreactor comprising a series of flat blades which can be rotated with the help of a motor. This ensures thorough mixing of the contents so that nutrients come in close contact with the microorganisms. The agitator also prevents settling of the cells at the bottom. The bioreactor also makes adequate provision for aeration, temperature, and pH control. For proper aeration, air can be forced in at the bottom of the tank through a porous ring called the sparging ring by a process called sparging. Moreover, there is an outlet to remove air and waste gases at the top of the tank. The top of the tank also has a number of inlet tubes called ports, through which materials can be introduced or withdrawn. For example, the inoculation port is used to introduce initial inoculums and the nutrient port to introduce more nutrients. Similarly, The antifoam port is used to introduce antifoaming agents, while the pH port to introduce acids or alkalis to maintain optimal pH. At the base of the tank, there is a harvest line to extract the culture medium and microbial products. Another type of bioreactor is the one with a sparged stirred tank. Sterile air bubbles are sparged through this reactor, which increases the surface area for oxygen transfer. Once the biomass has been obtained from the bioreactor, the final step in the recombinant DNA technology is downstream processing. It refers to the recovery and purification of biosynthetic products, such as pharmaceuticals, before they are brought to the market as finished products. In downstream processing, pharmaceutical products such as antibiotics and hormones are formulated with suitable preservatives. Thereafter, these products are also subjected to clinical trials and quality testing. By aiding in the development of these new medicines and vaccines, recombinant DNA technology has revolutionized medical science and opened new vistas of research.